Radio Triple Play with Ken Laird, John Steigerwald, and now you've just crossed over into the Fedko Zone with John Fedko.
John Fedko ready to roll today. Johnny, we've seen quite a few epic collapses in this city since you predicted Tebow would strike, and Tebow struck. And then the Pirates epically collapsed once and twice, and now the Penguins have done it in round one to Philly, giving up a zillion goals, and to Boston scoring two in 4 games. What the hell's going on in this town?
It's the Fedko Zone.
Well, we're turning into semi-San Jose Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks were a team in the NBA in the late 70s, in the 80s, that they were just always losing right before they got to the finals. Go look it up. And, of course, the San Jose Sharks should have maybe won 3 or 4 cups, and they just couldn't get even past the first round. Obviously, we could probably spend the entire summer, which we may, talking about what just happened. If I look like I'm in shock on the camera, I am. I look like I predicted a 4-game sweep by the Penguins.
I thought it was going to be 6, but don't feel bad because there's nobody in walking the streets of Pittsburgh, nobody in the media who predicted that I know of that the Penguins would even go more than 6 games. Maybe Ken, you said 7.
Yeah, Pens in 7. I think that was the standard prediction, even from Boston. I mean, there were very few picking
6,
the Bruins to win, period.
Yeah, nobody. It was the way the Penguins were playing and what they had done against the Bruins in the regular season. So I wouldn't be feeling too bad about your prediction.
I'm not, and I'm feeling really good about my Pirates Garrett Cole prediction, which begins tomorrow. So we can talk about that later, maybe not on this particular set with Kenny, because I think there has to be a lot of postmortem on the Penguins, only because it's still a story in progress, which could change dramatically Wednesday when Ray Shero has that news conference, which should be aired live, the way the TV stations sometimes do sports around here. I have no idea what he's going to say in that thing. But look, to me, we talked about epic collapse, which it was. I mean, it was just pathetic the way they lost. It wasn't just losing. It was the pathetic way they lost. I don't care about the scores were close. You can't go an entire 4-game series with this kind of offensive talent and score 2 goals. I don't care if you're up against the 1979 Montreal Canadiens, the greatest defensive team of all time. That's ridiculous. And now you go back and look at the epic collapse in last year against the Flyers, where they just totally imploded. And then you look at the epic collapse the year before that. I mean, there's just an obvious pattern. I cannot believe, Kenny, I'm waking up in Pittsburgh to a columnist saying, sign Dan Bylsma to an extension. I just can't believe that one. Now, one of the columnists just totally has taken Bylsma
Joe
apart.
Starkey.
Yeah. And I got another columnist saying, sign him to extension. I mean,
who says that?
I'm all for starting arguments as a columnist, but I'm sorry. I mean, you'd have to. I don't know that. I can't even think of a distant, remote reason why they would want to sign Dan Bylsma an extension.
That's different from firing him.
Well, he's got 1 year left.
There's a choice, but that doesn't mean you think he should be fired necessarily.
Well, you can't lame duck him. Just go into 1 more year, can you? You either get off the pot or you don't, right? I mean,
look, I'm with you. I think he should be fired, and I am not going to sit here and say that everything is his fault. It's not. It's just you got to point the finger at everybody, including Shero, including Ray Shero. The bloom's off the rose on that one. I mean, the guys he acquired ended up just, totally running out of gas, every single one of them. Now, we can talk about Iginla being played out of position, and I'm sure that has something to do with it. But 0 for 15 in the power play, just a pathetic offense. And, I mean, we have so many storylines here.
Stag, you said yourself, if this doesn't get you fired, what does? Didn't you say that last year?
I don't. What I said is, this is the NHL. And I've seen coaches fired in the regular season when they've been, doing okay. They just all of a sudden get fired. Kevin Constantine comes to mind. He would perform miracles with a team that didn't have very much talent. He was, I forget who the GM was at the time. He just didn't like the players, or Yager didn't like his style or something, so they got rid of him. I'm not saying that, and I don't remember who they hired to replace him even. Might have been Eddie Johnson. I don't know. But the thing is, coaches get fired in the NHL quicker than in any other sport. So, but you have to balance that with who's out there that if I fire Dan Bylsma, who's out there that I can feel really, really confident that is going to do better than get me to the finals next year, to the conference finals.
On the other hand, how do you go into another playoff series having confidence that Bylsma is going to outcoach the opposing?
That's the problem, and he's already said that Marc-Andre Fleury is his number one goaltender.
That was surreal.
So what we're talking about here is a team that just got smoked in the playoffs, and we're being told that the same coach is going to be there, and he's going to have the same goaltender, and we have to go through a regular season of October, November, December, January, February, March, and half of April, and then none of which will mean anything to anybody.
Right.
Not whatever happens means nothing if those
unless they stink and can fire in mid-season, but they won't do that because they always crush the regular season.
Well, just a couple things. This is the first time I've obviously been able to be on the air since the debacle
Friday.
Friday. I mean, it was very reminiscent to me of the Steelers losing to the Chargers in the AFC Championship game. Just very reminiscent. Just the feeling I had in my stomach. I still thought when they were down 3, they were some 3-0, they were going to find some way to steal a game and then get back here, win their 2 games at home. I was numb. I'm sure I'm not as a fan as such. Just watching what was incredulous. I mean, if anybody would have said the Bruins were going to sweep them in 4 before that series started, I'd have bet $1 million. I really would have bet $1 million that would not have happened. So as a member of the stinking media, I'm mad. I was duped. I was duped into picking the Penguins in 4, and I've been asking myself ever since Friday night, how did I get duped? And there's a lot of people to blame, but I'm going to start with somebody that I would write my column about, and that would be Mario Lemieux. I'm going to start with Mario Lemieux because it always starts with when you have an epic collapse like this, and that's the only way I could describe it, epic. It starts from the top. Let's go back to Mario Lemieux. And what were Mario Lemieux's traits that were not good? Because this guy is not a saint. He hated coaches. Every coach that he played under, he hated. Okay? A lot of what happened in '93, some people can point to Mario Lemieux and the country. But you're right about EJ. Yeah. You're right about that, John. But it was a country club atmosphere because of Mario Lemieux. He had no respect for coaches. Scotty Bowman was a coach in name only as far as he was concerned. He had no respect for coaches, okay? Guess what Crosby's like? And we don't know behind the scenes, but I'm only guessing. I'm not saying the word guess. But why was Iginla playing out of position? Because wasn't that the word that, that was kind of coming from Crosby? Were the inmates running the asylum on this team? And that stems right from Mario Lemieux was like that. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Here comes Sidney Crosby maybe having a say in where Jarome Iginla should be playing. And there's dysfunction in this organization. I'm sorry. There is dysfunction in this organization. They had too much talent. On paper, they should have swept right to the Stanley Cup championship, and they totally imploded. I have no problem with them losing in 6, losing in 7. I have a real problem with them losing in 4 and only scoring 2 goals. There's something wrong with this team, and it starts right from the top with Mario Lemieux. Something's wrong.
Are you saying the players are coddled too much?
Yeah, I am. I'm saying it starts with Crosby. I'm taking shots. We could all blame Dan Bylsma, and I am not. I am in the camp that it's not all Bylsma's fault. He has some fault, and I'd fire him because he's an easy fire. But I think Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby should be ripped to shreds in this town over the summer. They should be, both of them, because it starts from those two. Crosby's the face of the league. Give me a break, Crosby. You're a joke right now. How many points did he have in a 4-game series? Ken, do you want to answer that question? How many
0
points did he have? That's a joke. Maybe Johnny and I are going to fight over this. He's a joke. Don't tell me he's face of the league. And I don't want to. And you know what? This has now been going on for 4 years. This team should have had at least 2 cups by now, at least, and probably 3. They should have had at least 2 cups and probably 3. And we're sitting here looking at this debacle. You know, the great thing about sports is it's not life or death. And guys like John and I can go, and Kenny can go crazy over stuff like this, and so I'm going to. I just think the bloom's off the rose for me to Sidney Crosby. I am sorry. That was like Barry Bonds in the playoffs in the early 90s. Now maybe Crosby comes back and redeems himself.
Well,
Like
Crosby's
Barry
won a
Bonds
cup.
did.
Barry never won diddly poo. So
yeah,
but
Barry
he has
ended
a
up
little bit
redeeming himself later. He had a great postseason later in his career.
You guys,
give him credit.
I'm just
going to
throw this in. Not that this is germane to anything.
all right.
Well, you and I will discuss Crosby later because I think you're out of your mind. But,
I'm fed up with Sidney Crosby right now.
how old was Mario Lemieux when he won his first Stanley Cup?
Well, if he started in '86 and he won the cup in
91. Yeah, I'll answer it for you.
Right.
He was 26
okay.
when he won his first one. Sidney Crosby was trying to win his second one this year. He'll be 26 in August.
Okay.
So,
yeah, but
Mario he set the bar
never,
for himself high because he won a Stanley Cup at 21 or 20, whatever he was.
But John, Mario Lemieux never went through a playoff series with 0 points. I don't know. Off the top
actually,
of my head,
96, he and Yager combined for like 4 points.
Was that against
the Florida Panthers? Yeah.
Well, by his 8th year, Lemieux was winning cups, and that's where Sid is right now. 94 through 90 or 84 through 92. It took him a while, but come on, some of the teams Lemieux played on compared to this talent that they assembled, Stag, you got to admit.
Well, and Lemieux won when they gave him talent.
Well,